Wei Deng is the CEO of Clipboard Health. And while I'm the coach, supposedly, I have learned so much from you already. And there's a framework that you have, which is when you are faced with difficult decisions, at least what you've shared with me, is that you like to separate the decision from the implementation. And that helps you clear your mind of the emotional confusion caused by the difficulty of the implementation. So rather than me explain it, can you please explain it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. And actually, I need to give credit to the person who first introduced it to me, which is who is Bo. That's my husband. And we say this all the time: separate the decision from the implementation. And this is true personally and professionally. I think it's really worked out well for me. So, for example, when you think about breaking up with someone, which is obviously a very difficult decision to make, I definitely have friends who have been in relationship where they know they need to exit it, but the idea of having to find a place or having to have that difficult conversation, having to talk to their mom about it, means that now they're not even making the decision because they're really focused on how difficult it is to execute on the decision and letting that confuse whether or not it's the right decision to make. Professionally, I mean, this, I have a lot of founder friends who oftentimes will talk about a difficult executive or direct report that they need to either layer or let go. But then the thought is, well, I don't want to have that conversation with them. They may cry, or like if I layer them, they may quit. And then it's gonna be even more difficult. And so what ends up happening usually is they just don't make the decision at all, because every time they think they reach into the decision, implementation takes over, or the difficulty of the implementation takes over. And then the decision just gets delayed until either they're forced to do it suddenly, and then it's just a bad case for everybody, or sometimes they just stay in that bad pattern for years. And so I think the framework has really allowed me, or freed me from the things that used to catch me when I try to make a decision, which is like letting my emotions sort of make the decision for me.
It sounds great and logically it makes complete sense, but then there is also the implementation of this framework. If you separate the decision, how do you actually separate it from implementation? How do you actually know which decision to make? And I have thoughts here. I think a way to do it is by determining who's the most important stakeholder. So, for example, in a company, I would argue that the most important stakeholder is the customer. So, therefore, you simply ask yourself, A, who do we serve primarily? And once we know who we serve primarily, what is in their best interest? So, what is in the best interest of the customer? Well, the best interest of the customer is that Clipboard Health or whatever company someone's running has the best people. And if there's someone there who's not the best person, then the best interest of the customer is to let that person go or layer them or whatever it is. So that then helps make it clear this person from the outside doesn't care that it's going to be a difficult conversation. They just want the best people working at the company that's providing them the product or service they're buying. And then once that decision becomes clear, then the implementation is actually going to cause damage to someone. It's going to cause damage to you when you have this difficult conversation. That's going to be painful and awkward. The way then to think about that is to mitigate the damage caused by the implementation. So look at who are the injured parties, the person being let go, yourself, but let's start with the person being let go and say, okay, ask them, what's important to you? What do you want in life? And they'll share. And then see if you can help them get the thing that they really want in life. And what you may find actually is if you do that, if you try to mitigate that injury, you may be able to get them more of what they want in life than the current position that they're in. Because likely, if they're not performing, they're likely not fully satisfied where they are. Whereas you can probably find them a place where they're going to be even more satisfied. Is that how you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think you framed it better than I could have myself. One thing that we do oftentimes at the company is we have a little Peppa Pig chair, because my kids love Peppa Pig, that we use as the customer on our shoulders. And whenever someone is like, oh, well, we can't do this today, it's too hard, or like, I can't tell my team to go work an extra hour today because they are going to be really upset with me. What we say is, this customer right now is not getting paid on time. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? It's okay. I can't pay my bills because some random engineer who I don't know is having a dance party, and so they can't attend me. So I think you're absolutely right. Like thinking about who it is that we're ultimately serving. And in this case, for example, if it's the customer doesn't really care. They don't really care about, they don't even care about me, right? They're just like, please solve my problem. And so it does, again, free you up to make the right decision. But of course, like look, it's always difficult, especially when you're dealing with another human. And in this case, injured party, someone you're letting go, or if you're in a, if it's a romantic relationship, someone that you're breaking up with or having a difficult conversation with. But in the long term, I've had people who have thanked me ultimately that they have left for a better job. I mean, this literally just happened the other week when they were like, thank you so much for having allowed us to work together, but now I'm in a better place. Also, people don't want to be in a place where they're not succeeding. Again, this is true both personally and professionally. Nobody wants to be in a relationship where one of the parties is unhappy all the time. So ultimately, it's going to be for their best mental state anyways, and their long-term happiness. And the quote injury is a very short-term pain that will yield much better long-term results for both parties.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you, Wei. I really appreciate that.